China just switched on a battery built to run for 30 years, and there's no lithium inside it. Every large battery on the grid today shares the same weakness. It wears out. Most lithium storage farms fade after 10 to 15 years. Then somebody pays to tear them out and build them all over again, and that somebody eventually is you, on your power bill. Then this June, in a convention hall in Munich, that changed. The largest battery maker on Earth unveiled a grid battery rated to charge and drain every single day for a quarter of a century, and it's built around the same element you sprinkle on your dinner: sodium, plain table salt. If the numbers hold, this changes what utilities pay for energy storage and what they charge you for power. So here's the engineering behind a 30-year battery, who's already buying it by the gigawatt, and the one problem that could still slow the whole thing down. That last part's at the end. Here's why this matters. The American grid is under more strain than at any point in living memory. Solar and wind are growing fast, and they need somewhere to park energy for the evening. Data centers are pulling power like small cities, and when the grid buckles, it isn't an abstraction. Ask anyone who sat through a Texas blackout with the heat off. The answer to both is storage. Enormous banks of batteries parked next to substations. But grid storage isn't a gadget, it's infrastructure. Utilities finance it the way they finance a bridge or a dam, on 20 and 30-year horizons. A battery that quits at year 12 doesn't just cost money. It breaks the math the entire project was built on. So let me set up the engineering, because grid batteries live and die by one number, and it isn't the one most people think of. For your phone or your car, the number that matters is energy density. How much energy per pound? On the grid, weight is irrelevant. The battery sits on a concrete pad and never moves an inch. What matters is cycle life. How many times you can fill it and drain it before it wears out. And here's the uncomfortable truth about every rechargeable battery ever made. Charging is damage. Every cycle, ions push into the electrodes and pull back out, and the material swells and shrinks like a sponge being squeezed, thousands of times over. Microscopic cracks spread. Side reactions slowly eat the electrolyte. Capacity bleeds away, cycle by cycle. It's the same reason your phone feels tired after 3 years. Now scale that problem up to a facility the size of a football field. The workhorse of grid storage today is lithium iron phosphate, LFP. Tough, affordable, proven. But most LFP grid systems are warranted for a few thousand cycles. Cycle one every day, and the economics starts sagging well inside 2 decades. Which is why the entire storage industry has been circling one question. How do you build a battery that survives 15,000 cycles? The answer came from the element everyone had written off. On June 22nd in Munich, CATL, the biggest battery manufacturer in the world, unveiled a system called tenor sodium. They're calling it the first sodium-ion grid battery validated in the field. Not a lab prototype. Real deployments. And the headline spec is the one that stopped me. 15,000 charge cycles at room temperature while keeping 70% of its health. Run that on daily cycling and you get a service life of 25 to 30 years. That is roughly double what most lithium iron phosphate installations deliver today. If you want the real engineering every week, subscribe. Okay, back to it. So how do you double the lifespan of a grid battery? 4 pieces of engineering. Each one matters. First, a chemistry that refuses to crack. Longevity starts inside the cell. Remember the sponge problem. Electrodes swelling and shrinking every cycle until they fracture. CATL says these sodium cells cut expansion force by 40% and gas generation by 35% compared to conventional designs. Part of the credit goes to the hard carbon anode we covered in my last sodium video, a disordered, sponge-like structure with room for the larger sodium ion to slide in and out without straining the material. Less strain per cycle, multiplied by 15,000 cycles, is the entire ball game. But a battery that lasts 30 years is worthless if it burns down in year 2. Second, safety. You can park next to a neighborhood. Lithium's dark side is thermal runaway, a failing cell that feeds on its own heat, like a grease fire on a stove. Sodium caps its runaway surface temperature at roughly 200 degrees Celsius. That's about 60% lower than comparable lithium packs, and the system is engineered to be fire and explosion proof even under extreme abuse. It also runs about 10 decibels quieter than typical storage containers. That sounds trivial until you realize what it buys: permission to build closer to the neighborhoods that actually use the power. And then there's the weather. Third, it barely notices winter. This is where sodium quietly embarrasses lithium. At -20 Celsius, 4 below 0 Fahrenheit, this system holds over 92% of its capacity. No heaters, no insulation blankets. Lithium storage farms in cold states burn a slice of their own stored energy, just keeping themselves warm through January. Sodium simply doesn't need the babysitting. The chemistry stays willing in cold that would cripple a lithium pack. And the same design is rated for more than 10,000 cycles at 113 degrees Fahrenheit, so Phoenix summers are covered too. One battery, from Minnesota winters to Arizona heat. But none of this matters if utilities can't actually plug it in. Engineers in the chat, before the fourth one, here's the question I keep turning over. If you ran a utility, would you sign a 30-year bet on sodium on day one, or wait 5 years for independent field data, while LFP keeps getting cheaper? There's a serious case for both, and billions ride on the answer. Drop yours in the comments. I genuinely go back and forth. Fourth, it's a drop-in replacement. This might be the most underrated line on the spec sheet. Sodium is compatible with existing LFP storage infrastructure. Utilities don't redesign sites or rebuild substations. They swap modules. Each module holds over 30 megawatt-hours and weighs under 42 tons, and just 34 of them make a full gigawatt-hour site. The housekeeping is tightened too. The system's self-consumption, the power a battery farm burns just running itself, drops from the industry's typical 2% to 1%. And when a fault appears, it isolates and self-heals in milliseconds instead of taking the whole block offline. And the money says this is not a science project. In April, CATL signed a 60 gigawatt-hour sodium supply agreement, the largest sodium battery order in history. In July, a 5 gigawatt-hour deal to deploy these systems across Europe starting in 2027. Deliveries inside China begin this September, with a full gigawatt-hour shipping by the end of the year. Behind it sits about 1.2 billion euros of sodium research since 2016, 40 gigawatt-hours of factory capacity already running, and 160 more planned. This is real, and it is shipping. Okay, here's where I have to be honest, because a 30-year battery deserves 30-year scrutiny. 4 real catches. First, 30 years is a projection, not a track record. Nobody has run one of these for 30 years. The product is brand new. 15,000 cycles comes from accelerated testing plus early real-world deployments. Field validated means it's performing in actual installations so far. It does not mean 3 decades of proof. The claim is credible. It is not yet demonstrated. Second, sodium still stores less energy per pound and per acre. On the grid, weight is irrelevant, but land and containers are not. Lower energy density means somewhat more hardware and more footprint for the same megawatt hours compared to top-end lithium. For most utility sites, that's a manageable cost, not a deal breaker, but it's a real line in the budget. Third, LFP is a moving target. I said this in my last sodium video, and it's even more true now. Lithium iron phosphate keeps getting cheaper, and its cycle life keeps improving. Sodium doesn't have to beat yesterday's lithium. It has to beat next year's LFP on total lifetime cost. That fight is genuinely close. Fourth, the price advantage is still on paper. Sodium's raw materials are dramatically cheaper. Salt versus mined lithium isn't a fair fight, but delivered system prices depend on manufacturing scale. and sodium is still ramping. When lithium prices dip, sodium's edge shrinks. The honest number arrives in September, when real invoices start. And there's a fifth thing. Not a flaw in the battery, a flaw in the map. This technology solves the lithium dependence problem and replaces it with a different concentration. The manufacturing is overwhelmingly Chinese. Which brings me to what I actually think. Here's where I land after years of watching battery hype cycles come and go. 1. This is the strongest evidence yet for the call I made in my last sodium video, that grid storage is sodium's killer application. I told you the signal to watch was the first major grid products built entirely on sodium. This is that signal, arriving on schedule. 2. The real war is sodium versus LFP, and lifespan is sodium's wedge. If 15,000 cycles holds up in the field, the lifetime cost math flips, because a utility buys one battery instead of two and skips a mid-life teardown. Even at a higher upfront price, 30 years can win. 3. America is in the race, but it's behind. Peak Energy shipped the first American-made grid-scale sodium battery, and General Motors has put money behind their platform. That's real, and it matters. But hold it against 40 gigawatt-hours of Chinese production already running and 160 more planned, and the gap isn't a step, it's a canyon. The technology race is close. The manufacturing race right now is not. 3 signals I'm watching. First, the real delivered prices when Chinese deployments begin in September. Second, whether the European rollout actually breaks ground on its 2027 schedule. Third, the first independent degradation data from the field, not the spec sheet, the field. And full disclosure, I've been wrong about battery timelines before. I thought solid state would be in your driveway by now, so I hold every launch day number loosely. But unlike most battery announcements, this one ships this year, so here's what to remember. 1. China just switched on the first field-validated sodium grid battery, 15,000 cycles, 25 to 30 years of service, roughly double a typical lithium installation. 2. It's built for the real world, a runaway temperature about 60% lower than lithium, and 92% capacity at 4 below zero with no heaters. 3. It drops into existing lithium infrastructure. 34 modules make a gigawatt-hour site. 4. The orders are real. The largest sodium purchase in history. A 5 gigawatt-hour European deal. Deliveries starting September, global in 2027. 5. The catch. 30 years is still a projection, and cheap LFP is a moving target, so watch the field data and the real invoices, not the press releases. If this gave you a clearer picture of what's real versus hype in grid storage, the like button is the only signal YouTube reads to know these breakdowns are working. Hit it, and if you know someone who still thinks batteries are a footnote in the energy story, send them this one. Next week, sodium versus LFP, the actual price war for the grid, with real numbers from both camps. It's closer than either side admits. I'm Jordan. Keep building,